Arundhati Bhattacharya, Chairman of SBI, is joining us now. She was the Woman Entrepreneur of the Year. Mrs. Bhattacharya, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. And first of all, congratulations on winning the Woman Entrepreneur of the Year award. You have been a remarkable leader for your sector as a whole, so why get the gender bias in? As a representative of the PSU bankers itself, can you begin by telling us what are the ingredients that make for success in PSU banking?
Thank you, first of all, Lata, and of course CNBC for the award. I in fact really had wanted to accept it on behalf of the public sector, and especially the public sector bankers. So it's nice of you to give me a question to do that. Frankly, what is it that goes into these ingredients of success? I think the main thing is that you have to be as professional as possible in pursuing whatever are the goals that you set for yourself. But over and above that, I think in India, banking is not only numbers, in the sense that there are so many other influences that come in, especially because the economy at times is extremely stressed. So there are situations that you have to understand, there are policy matters that you need to look into, and this may have nothing to do with banking per se, but it may have to do with the various sectors that you are dealing with. So basically, you know, one needs to be very aware of what is happening in each sector, and then, you know, you have to try and ensure that your book reflects those areas which seem to look better, rather than, you know, do things across the board, which is how it was getting done earlier.
Ms. Bhattacharya, good morning and congratulations once again. Well, the Gyan Sangam pondered on ways to improve the PSU banking sector. According to you, what are the immediate changes that we can expect? So what are the low-hanging fruits, as they call it?
See, I think, you know, we need to start at the top. And when we are talking about the top, I think, you know, we are talking about the quality of boards. As you know, in the public sector banks, we have in the boards a surfeit of chartered accountants. I am not downplaying their contribution. Many of them have contributed handsomely. But now we also need domain expertise in various other areas. Areas such as risk, areas such as HR, areas such as IT, management. So, you know, we need people who are domain experts in all of these areas. We need people who are planners as well as executors. That means they have had hands-on experience in execution of various matters. Now, if such people come onto the boards, then the guidance that they can give to the management is actually invaluable. So I think we should start first with improving the quality of the boards. That is, I think, the number one. The second thing again is professionalizing the entire process of choosing the top management. Again, as I said, there is a lot of work that has been done there earlier even, and in fact, say for instance, in all of our selections, the Reserve Bank, including the Reserve Bank Governor, has always been involved. But these processes, with the passage of time, they can always do with revisions. They can do with more and more professional inputs. So professionalizing all of this process of selection, that also should be something that should help. Now, these are all very low-hanging fruits, and these can be immediately implemented. I would think that, you know, the government would be very serious about implementing these measures.
Okay, is that the sense you got, Mrs. Bhattacharya, that the quality of the board members and the selection process of CEOs is changing right away? That's the first change?
Yes, I think so. I think you will see these changes happening very, very shortly. Regarding the process of selection, that has already undergone a change. Regarding the process of nominating directors on the board, I'm sure the government is looking at getting the right people there. So these things will undergo a change very quickly. But there were several other things that we asked for as well, as you very well know, including things like recruitment, things like changes to enable us to resolve assets faster. Those will take a little bit of time, but I'm sure that the government will work on it.
Okay, so in the case of, resolving assets faster, what did you ask and what do you think you could get?
What we really asked for is, you know, that the DRT, the concept that it was brought in on was a good one. But over a period of time, we have found that the speed of resolution has really slowed down. So we need the DRTs to be able to resolve these assets much faster. And if there are judicial challenges, we need some way of limiting those challenges. Whereas we are in a country which has a rule of law, which the FM talked about yesterday as well, and we all respect that. But all the same, there has to be a way in which this can be done faster. We also need proper bankruptcy laws. Without those bankruptcy laws, it's very difficult for these resolutions to happen in a manner that is fair to everybody. We also need, in respect of the willful defaulters, a little more teeth, in the sense that, you know, there has to be something more than just making it difficult for them to get loans. There has to be, when you want to bring about discipline, there has to be a small element of fear as well, because without that, discipline becomes a matter of choice, not something that people will do. You know, that is another area where we need to look at it. But as you are aware, laws take a lot of time, and therefore this probably will take longer.
Of course. Mrs. Bhattacharya, the government has already split the CMD post into MD and non-executive chairman for some banks. Now, isn't there a possibility that a powerful board which does not have any accountability can actually be negative, and the MD and CEO actually only gets weaker? Can this whole thing play negatively?
It is possible. As you know, in the private sector, this is already there. It will depend very much on the quality of the chairman we get. The chairman, whoever is selected, must be a person with a background of known ability to execute, and should really be a person of high repute. And only that will ensure that, you know, the entire thing is not, doesn't become further downgraded.
All right. So, what is the logical end game of the reform process, you think? You think banks will be brought under the Companies Act eventually?
It is a logical conclusion, but whether they will get there anytime very soon, I don't really know. However, you know, the Prime Minister did mention that your FM is from the legal profession, so he should know best how to get it there. So I think, you know, they are thinking very seriously about it. What is their timeline for doing it, I'm not too sure, and nothing was mentioned. But definitely, I think, you know, all of these things that we have talked about, they will get worked upon.
Ma'am, we have to concentrate on the here and the now, and the CPI number is coming later today. So, you know, actually I wanted to ask you, what's preventing you from cutting rates? Anyway, CPI is at 5%. Why are you not taking rates to, say, 8%?
Actually, Lata, you've got it wrong. Our deposits are at 8.5. As you know, we cut our deposit rates before everybody else did in October. But the rest of the pack didn't follow. Now, I can't be an outlier and way ahead of the pack. So when the rest brought it to 8.75, we promptly brought it to 8.5. The rest of them need to follow suit. As soon as they do that, you will see us reducing rates further. But as I said, you know, I can't be way out in the open. So I need the rest of them also to be convinced that, yes, deposit rates have to come down.
Okay, let me put it this way. As a PSU banker, when do you see a steep cut in deposit rates? I mean, if inflation is around 5 to 6% for a better part of 2015, I mean, do you see a 100 basis point fall in deposit rates, for instance, in 6 months?
I think it will. I think it will. There is no doubt about it. Because again, you know, we obviously get pressure from the other side as well. And if we've got to reduce the base rates, then we have to look at cutting on the deposit side. There are no two ways about this. It's a very simple equation, and people have to do that. They have already started. As I said, they started about 2 months after we did. But they have taken that first step. Now we have to see them taking a few more steps. And definitely, I think at 8% is a very reasonable rate at this point of time. Your WPI is 0, and CPI is definitely trending downwards. And even if we take 6%, as you said, it's definitely something that we need to bring further down.
All right. And finally, ma'am, your thoughts on consolidation. What is the ministry thinking currently? And in terms of a timeline, when do you think it could happen?
Actually, consolidation is something that will happen. When is really the question. Even the Prime Minister in his address to us, he mentioned the fact that there are 4 Chinese banks in the top 20 in the world. Of course, those Chinese banks have grown on the back of the Chinese economy. But as he sees the Indian economy going up, he also expects that some of us will be in those top 20. Now, if we are going to be in the top 20, you are looking at mergers. There is no other way. Growing organically at that speed would be very difficult. So inorganic should be the way that we should proceed. Having said that, why is it not happening at this point of time? If you look at some of the banks, those that are weak, and some of the banks, those that are strong, the strong are not really particularly enamored about taking over the weak banks. For that matter, neither are the weak ones, because they feel that they will be overwhelmed. So actually speaking, when there is a union or a marriage, it should be between strong and strong, not between strong and weak. And therefore, I think the idea that was mooted was that give us the time to get out of this very stressed economic cycle. Let us put everything in order. Let us see how best we can find our niche strengths and see how best we can position ourselves, so that when this happens, it is more of a union between likes than between a like and not one, one similar. So I think that was basically the viewpoint behind whatever were the deliberations. But I think it was very, very clearly understood that you have to be able to make a difference. You have to differentiate your offering in whichever way you can. And whatever you are offering, you have to be a strong bank. I think that was very clearly talked about and clearly conveyed. And I think all the bankers have taken note of that.
All right, ma'am. On that note, thank you for joining us, and all the best for the year to come. That's the word coming in from SBI.